Thank you, Melanie. Good morning and welcome to Bellingham Unitarian Fellowship. I'm Reverend Paul Beckel.
Good morning.
No one is free in this world until all of us are free. Now, that's a pretty high stakes proposition and can only be worked out over the course of generations, which gives us plenty to do here and now. Collaboratively, because such a big thing over so long, we collaboratively are able to take much bigger risks and get more done for the cause of social justice. So in that spirit, today we gather. as Annie and Marta and Joe light our chalice this morning, which we do in collaboration with hundreds of Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world, we remember that one of the core principles of our movement is the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Now, when I think about that, all too often, the image that comes to my mind is the solo scientist analyzing empirical data and coming to some reductive conclusion. But I know that the search for truth and meaning is much bigger than that. Even for scientists, certainly for those of us who see the world in relationship with one another, relationship with the earth and the heavens. We know that we have to engage with one another as people to pursue truth and meaning. And so, in that spirit, our chalice lighting calls us together. Thank you. And let's say together our covenant. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service gives it life. Celebrating our diversity and joined by a quest for truth, we work for peace and honor all creation. This is our covenant.
Please rise in body or spirit and join us in hymn 123, which is one of our favorites. If you want to learn signs, we have wonderful signing happening. Again, hymn 123 in the gray hymnal.
Hi, welcome to the Bellingham Public Library. How may I help you?
I was actually looking for some children's books on diversity.
Well, you're in luck. We have kits for that. This is called a Community Voices Kit, and it is full of books for families.
That's so awesome. Can I check this out?
Yep. Beep.
I got this book from the library. Last Stop on Market Street. Last Stop on Market Street. My words by Matt De La Pena and pictures by Kristen Robinson. CJ pushed through the church doors, skipped down the steps. The outside air smelled like freedom, but it also smelled like rain. Mom, which freckled CJ's shirt and dripped down his nose. He ducked under his Nana's umbrella, saying, "How come we gotta wait in the bus for the bus and all this wet?" "Trees get thirsty too," his Nana told him. "Don't you see that big one drinking from a straw?" CJ looked for a long time, but never saw a straw. From the bus stop, he watched water pool on the flower petals, watched rain patter against the windshield of a nearby car. His friend Kobe climbed in, gave CJ a wave, and drove off with his dad. "Nana, how come we don't got a car?" "Boy, what do we need a car for? We got a bus that breathes fire, and old Mr. Dennis who always has a trick for you." The bus creaked to a stop in front of them. It sighed and sagged, and the doors swung open. "What's that I see?" Mr. Dennis asked. He pulled a coin from behind CJ's ear, placed it in his palm. Nana laughed her deep laugh and pushed CJ along. They sat right up front. The man across the way was tuning a guitar. An old woman with curlers had butterflies in a jar. Nana gave everyone a great big smile and a "good afternoon." She made sure CJ did the same. The bus lurched forward and stopped, lurched forward and stopped. Nana hummed as she knit. "How come we always gotta go home here after church?" CJ said. "Miguel and Kobe never have to go nowhere." "I feel sorry for those boys," she told them. "They'll never get a chance to meet Bobo or the Sunglass Man. And I hear Trixie got herself a brand new hat." CJ stared out the window, feeling sorry for himself. He watched the cars zip by on either side, watched a group of boys hop curbs on bikes. A man climbed aboard with a spotted dog. CJ gave up his seat. "How come that man can't see?" "Boy, what do you know about seeing?" Nana told him. "Some people watch the world with their ears." "That's a fact, their noses too," the man said, sniffing at the air. "That's a mighty fine perfume you're wearing today, ma'am." Nana squeezed the man's hand and laughed her deep laugh. Two older boys got on next. CJ watched as they moved on by and stood in the back. "Sure wish I had one of those," he said. Nana set down her knitting. "What for? You got the real-life thing sitting right across from you. Why don't you ask the man if he'll play us a song?" CJ didn't have to. The guitar player was already plucking strings and beginning to sing. "To feel the magic of music," the man whispered, "I like to close my eyes." Nana closed hers too. So did CJ and the spotted dog. And in the darkness, the rhythm lifted CJ out of the bus, out of the busy city. He saw sunset colors swirling over crashing waves, saw a family of hawks slicing through the sky, saw the old woman's butterflies dancing free into the light of the moon. CJ's chest grew full, and he was lost in the sound, and the sound gave him the feeling of magic. The song ended, and CJ opened his eyes. Everyone on the bus clapped, even the boys in the back. Nana glanced at the coin in CJ's palm. CJ dropped it in the man's hat. "Last stop on Market Street," Mr. Dennis called. CJ looked around as he stepped off the bus. Crumbling sidewalks and broken down doors, graffiti-tagged windows and boarded-up stores. He reached for his Nana's hand. "How come it's always so dirty over here?" She smiled and pointed to the sky. "Sometimes when you're surrounded by dirt, CJ, you're a better witness for what's beautiful." CJ saw the perfect rainbow arcing over the soup kitchen. He wondered how his Nana always found beautiful where he never even thought to look. He looked all around them again, at the bus rounding the corner out of sight, and the broken street lamp still lit up bright, and the stray cat shadows moving across the wall. When he spotted their familiar faces in the window, he said, "I'm glad we came." He thought his Nana might laugh, her deep laugh, but she didn't. She patted him on the head and told him, "Me too, CJ. Now come on." The end.
Thank you for listening. And thank you for being around to support their listening and to support their growing. And let's sing to them as they go off to their classrooms. We hold you in our love as you go.
It needs to be up here. The mic is up here. A little bit closer.
Be at peace as you go.
Enough for
Precious one of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go.
one more time. We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go. Not so long ago, in a fellowship not so far away, something is coming across the universe. It is a dark time for the congregation, budgeting, but a new hope has arisen. The 2024 Buff Auction has been scheduled for May the 4th. Members and friends of the fellowship have banded together to create a catalog of thousands of dollars of high-quality items, events, and services. Now we shall gather from the deepest recesses of the universe, raising funds to allow Buff to live long and prosper. Apologies to the purist among you for mixing sci-fi worlds. And may the 4th be with you.
Luke, this is Chewbacca. He's first mate on a ship that might suit our needs.
Han Solo. I'm captain of the Millennium Falcon. Chewie here tells me you're looking for passage.
Yes, if it's a fast ship.
Fast ship? You've never heard of the Millennium Falcon? I've outrun the Imperial starships, not the local bulk cruisers. Mind you, I'm talking about the big Corellian ships now. She's fast enough for you, old man. What's the cargo?
Only passengers, myself, the boy, 2 droids, and no questions asked.
What is it? Some kind of local trouble?
Let's just say we'd like to avoid any imperial entanglements.
So, we'll deliver the droids to Alderaan, rescue the princess from the Death Star, and defeat the Empire?
What? No, we need to get to the buff auction. It's out of this world.
The buff auction? What's that?
You've never heard of the buff auction on Earth? It's only the galaxy's greatest source of valuable objects and unique experiences. It's an event not to be missed.
Valuable objects? I happen to have an interest in valuable objects. And I'm between jobs right now. Okay, you guys got yourself a ship. We leave as soon as you're ready. Docking Bay 94.
94. Luke, use the forks.
And yes, we're not quite ready for the pulpit yet. Hold on, friends. I have to tell you about the auction. We can use our forks, our knives, and spoons, as there will be great food and fun at the buff auction. So many items and events to bid on, including emotional support chicken, cabin on Samish Island, pet portrait, and so much more. Entry and raffle tickets are on sale today after church, or you can buy them online. See the auction FAQ handout? It looks like this. And our auction tables right outside and in the foyer after the service today. We are only accepting donations through tomorrow, so no more donations after that. We want everyone, we need everyone in this congregation to come to the auction, to bring friends and family, and to bid. But if you can't come, you can still bid for these fabulous items online between April 28th and May 1st. May the 4th be with you. See you then. Woo-hoo.
Thank you all. Thank you all, you stars. And I want to thank Jane Epperson, who was reading the children's story this morning, and I think is now up working with the children on their lessons. Today we have a number of speakers talking about collaboration and social justice, and especially the learning that comes along with that. First, we have Elizabeth Epperson and Sabi Graham, who recently took a course we offered here on raising children in a race-conscious society, and they're going to tell about their learnings.
Right. Yes, hi, I'm Elizabeth Epperson. My husband Gabe and I have 2 kids at this church, Jane and Peter.
And I'm Sabi Graham. My husband Tom and I have 2 kids as well, Garnet and Acorn. And we're just going to briefly chat about this class that we recently took. As Paul mentioned, it was raising children in a race-conscious society. So talking about how to raise kids to be more anti-racist and more aware of racism and how they can counteract it. It was facilitated by James Addington. Some of you might remember him. He's spoken here before. He's a local activist and author who lives in Ferndale.
Okay, so the class was offered over 2 days to anyone at Buff who are raising children. We had mostly parents and some grandparents, and it was a shared discussion format driven by our thoughts and questions.
And we did learn a lot. It was really fascinating discussions, and we just wanted to point out some of the key things. One is that racism is a social construct. Humans created it. We love to put things in categories, and that's a box that we created to categorize each other. And it makes racism very complicated and messy to undo. It can be difficult and uncomfortable. And we also wanted to make sure to note that anti-racism and allyship is always evolving. And a lot of us, when we were kids, especially our generation, we talked a lot about how we were told to be colorblind when we were kids. And our understanding of that in terms of like how to look at people and race and society has evolved, and now we know that that doesn't work, and it's actually not healthy to try to ignore the differences between us, instead trying to focus on our commonalities and celebrate the diversity of different kinds of people.
And then, like we showed you during the children's story, there are resources in our community, including leaders in the community who are impacted by racism, who've been doing the work maybe a lot longer than some of us have really been thinking about it. So it's important to listen to them. Oh yeah, and another kind of anecdote that came up in our class, a child I may or may not be related to asked me, "We don't have a culture, do we, as white people?" And it was hard to explain that when you live in a society that centers your culture, white culture, it can feel like you don't have a culture, but you do, and it's really important to think about that and what it means, what your culture is, and what it means to be a member of that culture. Okay. Oh yeah, here we go.
Oh, yeah. So, of course, we talked about many things, and we're just going to highlight a few. So how we can all help. As white people, we don't notice the centering of whiteness, so it's important to learn how to de-center whiteness. And it starts with noticing how whiteness is the default of our culture, like Liz was just saying. For example, and like strive to be more inclusive. A good example of decentering and just noticing it as the start is I just moved back to the US after 13 years of living abroad. And I do sound like an American, but even when I say I just moved from abroad, nobody asks me where I was born because I am white. They assume that I'm a white person from the US, and they don't question who I am.
Yeah, and my mom became an American citizen when I was 7, and no one's ever asked me where I'm from either. So the next two we kind of touched on a little bit already, but I think for a lot of us, we learned this new term, microaffirmation. I think we've all probably heard or been accused of committing microaggressions. I really like this word microaffirmation though, and it got me thinking about, I wanna make sure I tell this story right. We play songs at recess at my job, and we take student requests. And when I heard about microaffirmations and we talked about it, I decided that I could do better by playing songs in other languages. Our school has a pretty diverse group of students. And once I started playing those songs, more kids were asking for songs in their language. And you know, this hurdle of like, well, how do I know if the song's appropriate? I mean, you Google it and you find the lyrics, you translate it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So yeah, that was kind of one of my takeaways.
So we want to leave you with just a couple of questions that we want you to think about, and feel free to talk amongst yourselves at coffee hour or at any time, or with us if you want to find some of us. And so we just have a couple of questions to think about. One is, how do we as a community, excuse me, uplift and amplify people already doing this work? I suspect that's one that you all will probably have an easier time thinking about, because I feel like Buff already tries to do this. The other one we want to leave you with is, how will anti-racism benefit all of us? And what does anti-racist world look like? Thanks for listening. Oh, and I did want to note, in the skit, that bag of books is real. You can go to the library and check out a book bag on diversity for any kids that you all might help care for or spend time with. It's a great resource.
And we'll be at coffee hour. You could talk to us and check out the bag. Thanks. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kristen Barber, and we are switching now to the Buffs Refugee Action Team, of which we are all a part. I'm just going to give us a brief background of how we got started, and then the others are going to tell more personal stories. About 2.5 years ago, Ann Stevenson contacted me and asked in a very impassioned voice if I would be interested in sponsoring a refugee family. This was her #1 bucket item. Genia was on board, and they needed at least one other person to start the application process at that time. We've switched applications a few times over the process. All in all, in the last 2.5 years, we've had well over a dozen participants. We decided to work, finally, with World Relief, a national organization which had an office and does have an office here in Bellingham. About a year later, we were notified that a family was assigned to us, Bassam, Badria, and their 4 children from Syria, ranging in age from 1 to 11. They'd spent 10 years in Jordan, waiting for the United Nations to permanently settle them. We helped the family find an apartment. We helped Bassam get a job, and actually he has 2 jobs. One is the janitor here at Buff. We enrolled the children in school, helped them to navigate the medical system, and Kara Black housed them for a month in her own home. Several months later, we welcomed Badria's brother and his family of 5, also refugees. To me, what's been most rewarding, besides having a chance to work with these wonderful people, have been the smiles of the children, which you will see shortly on the screen. There have been many firsts for them. Learning to ride a bike, learning to swim, dressing up for Halloween, celebrating their birthdays for the first time, to name a few. And now Kara's going to flesh this out.
Thank you, Kristen. Hello, my name's Kara Black, member here since 2005. I have come to love and deeply appreciate each member of both of these families from Syria. It is definitely not a one-sided relationship, but mutually and significantly rewarding. I could talk all day about my experiences with these families, but I will restrict myself to sharing about one person from each family. From the first family that arrived, I'd like to talk about my dear friend, Badriya. I sense Badriya as the heart of the 2 families. She is a center of generosity, of warmth, of goodwill, of cheerful temperament, of good humor, she is very funny, of confidence, of bright intelligence, of tremendous capability, of welcome, of patience, of gentleness, of optimism, and is exceptionally grounded, even as her family has been uprooted again and again. Many adoring looks come her way from her family and now from many of us in her new community. Their family of 6 lived in our home when they arrived, and none of them had any English at all. Their dialect was not understood well by Google Translate program, though English did translate better back to them. One of my early great joys with the family was my back and forth with Badriya, trying to understand what she was saying. I would read the translation, which would be nonsensical in English. I would make a guess back at what she meant, and back and forth we would go, always in good humor. She never got frustrated, and with great laughter sometimes when our crazy communication mix-ups became evident. And then there would be that moment of delight when I would finally guess right, and we would both light up and sometimes share a joyful hug at our success. I've gotten much better at guessing what she and the other adults are trying to say in the translator now. So here are a couple of examples of resolving communication challenge. The first one, the first photo, I guess, is up there. Okay. So this communication followed discussion of Bassam, the father's back pain. I will read you Google's translation of her Arabic text. The conversation starts with the translation, "It is not the mother of both." Then she says, "Can I ask my shirt to bring us a sponge to sit for Bassam, or can't I order it?" And you can see I say, "Not the mother of both. I don't understand the message." And she writes back in the next photo, "It's a dairy." And then she says, "Yes, it's a sponge to sit." And then she says, "I am asking you, can I tell my shirt, or I'm not entitled because?" And then I ask her, "A shirt? Are you talking about a shirt?" And she gets the correct translation back, and she says, "No, it's not a shirt." So then the third slide, she says, "I want you to help get a sponge to sit on the floor for Bassam," starting to make a little more sense. And she mentions Charity. I'm like, Charity? She's talking about Charity, who was her case manager from World Relief. Aha, I'm starting to understand something. So then we get to the fourth slide, and she says, "And a sponge pillow." And I say, "Oh, are you asking about Charity?" She says, "Yes." And that was I won't go on with more slides, but what I finally figured out is she was wanting to ask Charity at World Relief if it was appropriate for her to ask for a foam mattress for sitting on the floor for her husband. That's what that whole conversation. So shirt meant Charity. I mean, just like, that's what it's like. Okay, and then we have another very short example, which is in the fifth slide. This is a brief miscommunication that shows her humor about it. So her Arabic text says, "I was saying I only want to go to the doctor in time for something for salt." And then I say, "For salt?" She says, "Yes." And I said, "Salt?" And she says, "When for something necessary." And then she says, with those little faces you see, "The translator is joking with us." So, because Badria would prefer that her photo is not displayed publicly, I would like to share photos of a few more of her texts with you, which give a glimpse into her warmth and generosity of spirit. So the next slide. The first two are of her warmth and kindness, and this one is in English, so you can actually read it. See how she even learned how to sort of spell thank you. And then the next one is, the translation is, "Good evening, how are you? How are Kurt and Guillermo and your grandchildren and their mother? I hope you have a happy Christmas day." And every communication, every day will start with good evening, good morning, how are you, asking about everybody. It's just how she is. And then the next slide, this is about her generosity. This says in Arabic, "Good morning, how are you? We are on our way to your house, me, Bassam, and all of the children. Prepare a small lunch for you and Kurt. I hope you will accept it. I hope tomorrow you will be well and healthy." That's just the impromptu kind of thing that they'll do. Then the next slide is about gratitude. This one says, "Good evening. Thank you very much for your help. We are at home. Thank you for the gift of beautiful flowers. You beat yourself." Now, this is common that she'll use that phrase. "Thank you. We would always tire you with us." Again, a phrase you'll hear a lot. "If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be good at action with anything." And she also says a lot, if you get to know her, it says, "I'm ashamed of you," all the time. If she says she's ashamed of you, that's a really good compliment. It's a great appreciation. Okay, and then the next slide is, this is after I was worried we had a misunderstanding. And she writes back, "On the contrary, you come with happiness, and when we see you, I love you, my friend. How are you? Thank you for a beautiful trip. It was a fun day." So she's just incredibly sweet woman. And then the final photo, again about gratitude. And we had a lot of fun with you. Thank you, and thank all the team for this beautiful party for Ismail, her youngest son. She always sends her gratitude to everybody. So that's Badria. I also want to tell you about the newest member of the other family, the Al-Khalil family. I had the great honor of being Fauzia's support person in the operating room during her C-section. This was a challenge as the hospital's interpreter machine stopped working, but we managed. She was terrified of being awake for the process, so I sang and hummed to her and used my cell phone in the OR to translate important messages she was giving. And the outcome was a tiny, healthy, beautiful girl named Masa, which means diamond in English, a U.S. citizen as part of the family. How about that? Here's a video of her at 45 minutes old.
Thank you, Kara, for all you have done, which is a great, great deal. The images that are going to be showing while I speak, and also Anne, are of the dad, Bassam, and the 4 children, Muhammad, Fatima, Abdul Rahman, and Ismail. We do not have pictures of Badria, the mom, as Kara mentioned, because in their culture, women over a certain age are not allowed to have their pictures taken or shown in public. I'm going to say just a little clip about each of the other members of the family. My early times with the Al-Huris involved navigating the healthcare system with visits to their new providers. Their determination and overall good cheer at each of these visits was impressive. They, and all of us as a team, had to learn to struggle with a system that doesn't even always work for us. And we had to do it with the help of Google Translate, which, as Kara said, is sometimes very funny, sometimes bewildering, and has taken us to some very interesting places. Over a year and a half later now, since they have been here, they are mostly handling their healthcare needs on their own, which is very rewarding for all of us. Badria, the mom, is a very warm, welcoming, and hospitable woman. She always has food and drink to offer, even during Ramadan when they are fasting. She consistently expresses her gratitude. Every time I am with her, I note that she has added to her English skills, to her delight, and to mine. Bassam, the dad, is a man who has been through a terrible war and has survived. He's a hard worker, though he's been beset by a number of serious illnesses since arriving here, some of them requiring surgery. I witnessed Bassam's pride one day in his former work when he showed me quite a long series of pictures on his iPhone. Him at work as a butcher, fully clad as a butcher in Jordan. That's something that hasn't happened here yet. The oldest son, Muhammad, is 13, a teenager working his way through those tough years, a new language, a new land. He loves soccer, and I've seen how when a smile spreads across his face, the sun shines. Fatima, at 11, is a quiet and happy presence. She is supportive of her mom and dad, cares for her siblings, especially Ismail, the toddler. She likes studying English and now does a lot of the translating when I'm over there. Google Translate isn't so important anymore because of the kids. I see her emerging loveliness as she moves through her tween years. She takes real pride in her own growth and accomplishments. Abdul Rahman is 8, and he is acquiring English, perhaps the quickest of all of them. And he's speaking it with almost no accent. Very impressive. He joins Fatima in doing a lot of the translating, and he's a kid who also loves soccer. Ismail, at 2, steals the show with his antics every time. He fully occupies every space he's in, and I think he might be a budding entertainer. Now, when I am at their apartment, he goes over to the kitchen and pretends to make me a cup of coffee. One time when I was standing up to leave, he ran over, wrapped his arms around my legs, and gave me a great big goodbye hug. How heartwarming. What have I learned from these beautiful people? I have witnessed their determination, courage and resilience as they face their own challenges and as they struggle with the tragedies of family members still in Syria and Turkey. They are dear people, strong and delightful, and it has been an honor to be a member of the team helping them become increasingly settled and loved in the Bellingham community.
I'm going to be quick. My name is Ann Stevenson, and my husband, Michael Barris, we've been longtime members here at Buff. We welcomed a Bosnian family when we lived in Seattle through the Unitarian Church there. That led me to want to do it again, and bucket list item, scary, risky, but such rewards. Luckily, several members and more folks than are here. Genia, get up here. This is the part that makes me want to cry. When I talked about it to the team, I did start crying. I'm not going to today. The sense of connection, the love and support that you gain through working together. So I'm just going to tell you, you probably know this, take a risk, say yes to something hard. I've learned so much to depend on these folks, like almost feeling like with my life. I've learned about how the families are so resilient. I've learned how to handle Google Translate like a queen. Medical emergencies, Syrian cleanliness and bidets I've learned about. And donations, how to ask for donations. And anybody and everybody who has done anything for our team, would you stand up right now? I want to recognize that so many people in this congregation gave money. So please stand up if you've helped. Yes, please, please, please. Okay. I just, come here, you guys. Come here. I can only do this because of Buff's amazing supportive community. The refugee team, the board, Paul, my supportive husband, Michael, and all of you. And that's what Buff is to me. Ask me about the Venezuelan family who walked to the Mexican border with a 2- and 5-year-old. We always welcome new volunteers. So thank you. They're not our family, by the way. We're not supposed to say our family, but they are the refugee families that we love. So because we do not own that family. Anyway, all right, thank you. Thank you. You're too short enough. I'll go.
Thank you all so much. As you can see, there's so much more we can do together in beloved community among ourselves and also in all of the, for lack of a better word, tentacles that we get within the larger community, which spreads our joy and love and takes in so much more learning. So there are so many facets to so many areas in this world where equality and justice do not pertain, do not exist. And so we have our hands full, and with joy. We collect money, we do hands-on work, and we support each other by learning together. The humility, the gratitude, the grace that I hear from and continue to observe from these people. And we take monthly collections for organizations that are doing the hands-on work in this community that exemplify and further our principles. Today we're taking a collection for Children of the Setting Sun Productions, and Cyrus James is here to tell us about that.
Nautsium, Cyrus James Sinetsnat. Hello everyone, my name is Cyrus James and I'm a Tulilib tribal member, although I grew up in East Wenatchee with my non-native family. and I work for Children of the Setting Sun Productions, which was originally a song and dance group of Daryl Hilaire's great-great-grandfather, and they would share stories to end ceremony to bridge the gap between natives and non-natives. So that is the work we carry today through song and dance ceremony, but a lot of it is through video now since we have more technology. So it's like preserving it, and it's a way to share it further. Yeah, so we create, share, and educate, again, to bridge the gaps. And I'm a part of the Young and Indigenous podcast team. So that's a medium that we use to uphold our Indigenous voices. Yeah, thank you for having me here. Thank you for your support. Haishka.
Thank you, Cyrus. And I know I've seen a number of videos online that made by Children of the Setting Sun Productions, which are both gorgeous and deeply touching, but also clearly convey the sentiment, the culture, the wisdom of the Lummi Nation that can inspire us all. As the ushers come forward to receive your generosity, there will be, for those of you on Zoom, there will be a slide indicating how you can donate online. For those of you here, all cash that goes in the plate will go to Children of the Setting Sun Productions. And if you are writing a check, make it out to Buff. And if you intend for it to fulfill a Buff pledge, then write that in the memo line. If you intend for it to go to Children of the Setting Sun Productions, write that in the memo line, but payable to Buff. Thank you. Those of you who are visitors here for the first time, thank you for coming and considering how you might be a part of this learning community and acting community. Please feel free to participate in any of the activities that you might find in your printed order of service today, or that you might find at buff.org, where you can also sign up for our newsletter. And for those of you who are here for the second or beyond that number of times, thank you for welcoming those first-time visitors, including at the potluck dinner, which is going to take place immediately after the service downstairs. For those of you who didn't know this was coming, please come anyway. Bring something next time. There's always more than enough. That's the nature of a generous community that we have here. At the end of the potluck lunch, we are going to have our third and final listening session about Buff's budget that the board is preparing to deliver in May. This is a really important opportunity for you to share with the board, and especially to hear each other about your concerns and aspirations for the church. So please be a part of that conversation. It'll last no more than an hour.
Let's remain seated for our final hymn. It's called The Call, or Come My Way, My Truth, My Life. It's a setting of a Renaissance poem by George Herbert by the English composer Ralph Vaughan Williams, and he said it as a part of a set of songs called 5 Mystical Songs. The Call, for baritone soloist Noah Dugan. Let's all sing the 3 verses which are in our hymnal and up here, and then Noah will sing them again in the solo arrangement.
Such a strength as
The call of love comes to us yet again today. Let us go now and bring that call to life. And let's circle around for freedom. Let's make 2 concentric circles.